Oh, don't mind me. I'm just waking up. Toucan's on though. And look at that. Look at that. That's an all-bro team hoodie? Yo, it's a special episode. We're talking about some hot risers when it comes to the 2022 NFL draft class. So before we get into it, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know so, go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up, of course, if you enjoy the content. Let's go ahead, do the giggity gosh darn thing. Starting with the quarterback position, Jake Haener. Everyone's been talking about him the past few weeks. The guy has just been legit good. Last week against UNLV, after a slow start, mind you, by Fresno State, kind of having that UCLA win hangover going on. Haener, he rallies his team back. Goes 30 for 46 for almost 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. He had 1 pick. When you're throwing 46 balls, I expect you to throw a bad pass here and there. But hey, this guy, kind of legit. He's performed well in big games versus Oregon and UCLA. He went 69. Nice. Of 97 for 3 touchdowns and interception. The guy's a former 3-star recruit. He's a former Washington transfer. He was actually the backup behind, I think it was Jake Browner? Oh, I can't remember. It feels so long ago. But 6'1", 195. You know what? No one really cares about quarterback size for the most part. You want to kind of be close to 200 at that point. But when it comes to height, you're above 6 foot. That's great. That's great. That's all we ask. But I wouldn't say this guy has like elite arm strength. I don't think he does. I think what he does best is throw with great anticipation, really good ball placement. You saw that on a ton of the throws to Jalen Cropper. Regardless, his slot receiver, which is a guy you might need to watch out in this draft, kind of explosive. He had 4 touchdowns in that UNLV game, but definitely someone to keep your eye on. He's firmly day 3 for now. I put him in that 5th round area. That kind of feels right for him right now, but we'll see. It's a long season and a question mark of a quarterback class. At running back, Zach Charbonnet. I know. Everyone and their mom's already been talking about him. I've kind of already talked about him. But I think it really this running back class isn't spectacular. There's a lot. There's some good talent, but everyone's looking at 2023 with Bijan. They got the tank, Vaughn from K-State. And there's actually some other guys too that are whew. This class, though, you really have Breece Hall, who he's playing behind a terrible offensive line there at Iowa State. Isaiah Spiller, who for me, it's cool, you're a power back. That's your game. I feel like he hasn't really done anything to really justify him being drafted too highly. I feel better about him in the 3rd round, you know? But I talked about Kenneth Walker last week. Zach Charbonnet, dude. This guy's been a forced missed tackle machine. He's got 20 forced missed tackles on the season. Keep in mind, that's only on 48 carries. He's not even getting his fair share at UCLA in their backfield. This week he did. Full 25 carries, went for 133 yards and a touchdown. Only 4 missed tackles this week, but that Stanford defense is kind of gritty, so I don't mind it. Plus, Thomas Booker, another guy we could talk about from Stanford, he kind of had a heck of a game. But let's keep the train rolling to wide receiver. Javion Hiley out of Coastal Carolina. I think this guy is fringe day 2 because great size, 6'2", 200. I don't think he's he feels closer to a 4'6" guy. I really think he's probably maybe in the mid 4'5s when he goes to test out. But great body control. Like, he's also very sudden with his movements. He has 7 forced missed tackles on the season. Last week against UMass. I know UMass, they're kind of trash. It is what it is, man. All you can do is just annihilate the competition presented to you, and that's what he's done the last 2 seasons. 5 receptions, 118 yards and a touchdown. Just a guy to keep your eye out. Again, in a bit of a weaker wide receiver class, definitely a guy that can take advantage and emerge. At tight end, another guy I kind of talked about earlier this year, Cameron Lotto, kind of had a heck of a game against Southern Mississippi. 3 receptions, 43 yards, but 2 of them were touchdowns. Yeah, I did a little bit more research because, yes, he dominated my Hurricanes for, I think, 2 touchdowns as well. So I was like, I want to look a little bit into this guy. He's got good size at 6'5", 250. He was actually recruited as a linebacker / defensive end, edge player, and they made the transition to tight end, which it's been interesting. Kind of like, I think that kind of speaks to why the last couple of seasons he hasn't really had any production of any sort, kind of like getting used to that role. And he's a very good blocker. Like, if you don't think he's got good upside as a receiver, which I think he has plus upside as a receiver. I mean, 2 touchdowns against Southern Miss, 2 against Miami. Just saying, there's a little something there. But he's a very good blocker. Very good blocker. I think he, again, more late day 3 if we're talking, because this is actually a pretty good tight end class, but more late day 3. But definitely a guy that no one had on their map this season, especially since everyone was expecting, was it Jaleel Billingsley? I can't even remember his name anymore. To be like the breakout tight end, breakout player on that Alabama offense. But good for you, good for you. But let's keep talking about guys that transition from position to position. I want to talk about, was it Bernhard Rayman? Rayman? I'll get these names down by the end of the year, I promise. So he had a good game. He's got great size, 6'7", 305, but good game against Florida International. He allowed no pressures on 58 pass blocking snaps, I should say. Made Bruce Feldman's freaks list. So he kind of put his name on the radar to begin with for a lot of people by making Bruce Feldman's freaks list. Typically, once he comes out with those are guys you go and check out. But I had to do a little bit more digging because after talking with Ian Cummins from Pro Football Network, and then I've read some of the reports from Devin Jackson from Blue Chip, and I was like, okay, this guy is kind of must watch. And he's very interesting background. I was talking about making transition from position to position. Though his first 2 seasons at Central Michigan, he was a tight end. He actually has 20 receptions for 164 yards, no touchdowns, but made the transition in 2019, and it was smooth. Like, he was good in 2019, good in 2020, and he has been great in 2021. And best part, this offseason, he worked with Coach Paul Alexander. If you weren't here with me during the draft last year, you kind of know that name is a big thing. Kind of the offensive line, offensive tackle whisperer, if you will. But he did start the year rough, admittedly. Against Missouri, allowed 4 pressures and a sack. But if you go back and actually watch the game, you would notice a lot. A lot of it was on blitzes, where maybe the offense was calling screens or play action. So not really true pass sets. But still, a loss is a loss to some degree. But it's nice to see a guy that's like at 305, you feel like that's kind of lean when you're 6'7". You want to maybe those guys be like 315, 320. But he wasn't beaten one-on-one. I do like to see that. He allowed only 1 pressure against LSU. And we know they got banger pass rushers in the form of BJ Ojolari and Ali Gay. So allowing only 1 pressure over on 45 pass blocking snaps is pretty solid. Definitely got to keep your eye out for, especially during the offseason process. Interior offensive line. I talked about this guy earlier in the year. It's Osiris Torrance out of Louisiana. The Raging Cajuns. 6'5", 332. He is a man. He loves... This is going to sound weird, but he loves... I'm not going to say it. Never mind. I probably won't even cut that part out. But he allowed no pressures over the course of 31 pass blocking snaps against Georgia Southern. Not a big test. Did struggle against Texas earlier in the year. Keep in mind, they do got a pretty solid prospect in, Tavondre Sweat. The nose tackle there. But he is a very strong run blocker, has never allowed a sack in his career. And you know what? Big reason I wanted to talk about Torrance here is because we know that Louisiana offensive line, that team produces offensive linemen as of late. Kevin Dotson, Robert Hunt. Well, you got Torrance and actually Max Mitchell too, the right tackle. He's another hot riser that some people have been talking about recently. Both are actually eligible for the 2023 draft, and they may wait. I don't know if they're because you know how 2020 was kind of weird with the COVID stuff. So I don't know how eligibility is working nowadays anymore. But I don't know if they're eligible for an off-season bowl. So something to keep track of. If they are eligible for the Senior Bowl this year, then obviously, yeah, just go to the draft. But if not, they might hold out there. Let's go to the defense. Defensive interior. I'm talking Korey Wouldnt out of Auburn. Actually, this is a guy Ian Cummins talked to me about when we were going over his mock draft. You can check out that video. It's on the channel. But 6'5", 278. He had 5 pressures, 4 defensive stops this past week against Georgia State. Dude's a very twitchy player. Because for a guy playing on the interior, you look at him and you're like, yeah, he looks like a guy that would probably be like a guy on the outside, you know? Because he looks kind of thin. It's weird. It might be because he's 6'5", but very twitchy on the interior. He is so hard to handle when he kicks inside. I think more so he's good at setting the edge. I don't think he's that good. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he's that good as an edge rusher. Like, guy on the outside, yeah, he's solid if you're looking for a guy just to like set your edge. But the dude's making his money on the interior. He's been a nightmare all season. I see him as this 5-tech 3-4 end in the NFL, but definitely a guy to get excited about. At edge, Trey Williams out of Arkansas had himself a game. 8 pressures, 1 sack, 3 defensive stops. The guy leads the Power 5 currently in sacks. Well, currently in sacking because Jacob from Michigan State, a guy that's been in college football for what seems like 10 years now, had like a 14 pressure game. So there is that, but okay, he's number 2 in the Power 5 in terms of pressures. Still kind of good. But former Missouri transfer. So he is actually a bit of an older prospect. I think he's a 6-year senior. But dude's got great get off, man. And he combines that with he is extremely long. Great length. Very strong hands. What I kind of noticed in the Texas A&M game, though, is like the guy's crosshairs are aimed at the opposite offensive lineman's helmet at their head. Like, I thought he got away with a few hands to the face. Like, I thought he got away with a few because I was like, oh, golly, dude. It's like he's straight just chopping him in the throat. Holy moly, man. But dude's got, again, very strong hands. If he just kind of lowers that, lowers the strike zone a bit, then, yeah, I'm totally cool. This guy is hot and rising. Keep in mind, though, Keep in mind, he needs to carry this momentum throughout SEC play. I think this is a good start, and he's definitely a guy to look out for. Linebacker. I've been talking about this guy on Blue Chip Scouting. If you haven't looked, I got a weekly scouting report where I talk about prospects. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. It's a good read. It's a short read, but it's a good read. I talk about a few prospects there. But Darius Butler out of Arizona State has been one of my favorite players this college football season, especially at the linebacker position. I'm a sucker for a good coverage linebacker, and he is a good coverage linebacker. 6 foot, 225. Yes, feels a bit undersized, but the dude takes on blocks well. He doesn't get stuck on blocks, more importantly. He knows how to kind of maneuver around, but I would say he's an above, like he's not I don't think he's an exceptional athlete, but I think he's an above average athlete, especially for the linebacker position. He plays with a lot of discipline, which I think it's really reflected in his 2 interceptions that came in the season opener. He had another pass or two pass breakups. Yeah, 2 pass breakups against Colorado. Like, again, a guy that's very disciplined in coverage. I think he's probably going to end up being more of a day 3 guy. I feel like he's do I say undersized Davion Taylor? I feel like that's the call. Yeah, definitely. I'm currently looking at his measurements. Yeah, I think Taylor was probably a more lengthy player. Yeah, he's almost got 33-inch arms. Well, closer to 32, but yeah, I don't think Butler's arm length will be that long, but again, solid guy. I think he's probably more of a early day 3 type of prospect. At corner, another guy I talked about before the season, Jarek Bernard Converse. I don't know if he dropped the Converse. Hope not. It's kind of dope. It's kind of hard to fit it on overlays and such, but still kind of dope. But had himself a game against Kansas. 4 tackles. He allowed 3 receptions on 8 targets, mind you, for only 19 yards. Came away with 3 pass breakups. Had 2 defensive stops while he was at it. This guy is, I think, a very similar prospect to his former teammate, Darius Williams, who I think went in the 6th round of the 2021 draft. But Bernard Converse here, he possesses great length, and he has like a girth of experience. He was a starter in 2020 as well. So, and I think you really see that experience actually. He's pretty good at identifying routes and route concepts and attacking them. And I think it's something that he kind of has to, because I don't think he's that speedy. Like I said, he's very similar, in my opinion, to Darius Williams. I think this is a guy that can get beat by faster receivers. Like in 2020, you saw that where he had a lot of PI calls because guys got past him and he held. It was like, oh, you ain't gonna beat me, so I'm gonna rough you up, essentially. No penalties this year thus far. Just, again, something to kind of monitor as we get deeper into conference play. His teammate, Christian Holmes, a guy I've been high on since the last draft, finally seeing playing time. He's also been wonderful this season. I believe he's an older prospect than Jarek, but I think he's a much better athlete. So 2 guys from Oklahoma State, big reason why that team's undefeated. They got a really good secondary. And then finally at safety, Nick Cross out of Maryland, kind of deserves to be talked about. Really think this guy's probably going to be maybe a day 2, maybe early day 3 type of safety. Really good safety class, by the way. Had a really good game against Kent State, but he's 6'1", 210. What I really like about him is the dude's just explosive coming downhill. He eats up anything underneath, especially the red zone. He is really good at knowing what's behind him and then attacking what's in front of him. Like, I really like that. He sees the field extremely well. And the guy's been used more as a deep safety there for Maryland. I mean, they like to do their two highs, but the dude has shown, I think, good makeup speed, closing speed, whatever you want to really call it, when he kind of lets a guy get behind him. You kind of saw that more so in the Illinois game, but I think he does a good job of reading, recognizing, and then recovering. He was still able to go and make a play and help force that incompletion in the Illinois game. But definitely a guy that at 210, I think, moves extremely well. And I'm kind of in between. I think he might be a better split high. Maybe a box guy, maybe. Not sure. I don't think I think the missed tackle rate's kind of high on him. Let me go confirm, because I cannot confirm now. You would think I would put that in my notes. You would think. Let's see. Missed tackle rate of, I mean, it's 15.2% over the course of his career. It's not been great this year, though. And I mean, he did in that Illinois game. He did get kind of like, not sauce, but he was going to make a play on, I forget, I want to say it was the running back that got the ball, but I'm not positive. But he's going down the sideline, and the ball carry just hits him with a back juke, and you just see Nick Cross kind of like grab him as he like slide in past him, and just he couldn't make the play. I mean, to be fair, that's kind of tough. It's like you got the angle on him, but like you're really just one move away from just looking a fool, and it just ended up happening in that game, unfortunately. But yeah, let me know who are some of your hot risers thus far this season, and then of course that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated. It's always much obliged, and go ahead and do that YouTube thing. I'm getting redundant. I'm sleepy. I need my coffee. I need to get out of here. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.